Hello and welcome to another episode of Face to Face. My name is Godfred Akwuto-Boafo. I have a unique guest today. She's a scuba diving, multilingual, hardened trade negotiator who these days just happens to be the ambassador and head of delegation of the European Union to the Republic of Ghana. Her Excellency Diana Acconcia is our guest on Face to Face. Ambassador Acconcia, welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
How's your time been in Ghana so far? You've been here for a bit now, since 2018.
Yeah, I have been here in September. It will be 2 years. It's been a great time, very, very busy. We have done a lot of wonderful things. And now we are facing this very special, unexpected situation in Ghana as everywhere in the world, and we're trying to adapt.
And how different has Ghana been? You've worked in a lot of places, in a lot of continents. How different has Ghana been for you as a posting?
Well, first of all, I have not been in so many postings because most of my life I've been living in the headquarters of the European Union in Brussels. I was posted once in South America, that was Uruguay, and it was very different. And then I've known Africa for traveling and for working with a lot of African countries, but Ghana is the first one where I have ever lived. And what can I say? From the more limited experience I have from other countries, Ghana is very dynamic. That's something that really strikes. There are a lot of brilliant, competent, well-prepared people with a lot of ideas, a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, I would say. Of course, not everything is perfect and not everything works well. So I think it requires a lot of flexibility, but that's why I admire very much the people who manage to have successful businesses in this country. Sometimes the conditions may be challenging, but they manage. And they manage because they are very often brilliant people. So in a nutshell, that's what strikes me first of Ghana.
And how has the transition been for you? I realized you've been a hands-on person at the EU for a very long time, involved in a lot of negotiations. How do you transition from being that person to being the one who has to sit back and perhaps oversee and give instructions? Has it been an easy transition for you?
I like this question, Godfred, because I'm asking this question to myself, It is different. As you said, I used to be a trade negotiator. I used to manage a relatively small team of specialists, and I used to go around the world somehow giving my competence and in a job that was political and technical at the same time. Here I have to take instructions, as all the ambassadors do, and I think my main job, or maybe my main quest, is to translate these instructions that I get from Brussels to something that is, first of all, useful in the context where I am, useful for Ghana, useful for the European Union in Ghana, but also understandable by my audience in Ghana. By the people like you, like the people that are watching us, and sometimes this is a great challenge because people in Brussels think in their own world, in their own European world, very technical, and I have to apply it here and again to make it understandable and to explain why a certain program we think that is good for Ghana. But I also have to explain to Brussels why the government of Ghana has such and such priority, and that's why we would like to do this, and can we please do it? So it's a lot of communication, and maybe that's why I'm here today.
Interesting. What would you say is the current state of the relationship between the EU and Ghana as we speak?
It's very good. It's very good. Last year, we were very busy, particularly to promote growth and jobs in Ghana. We had a European Business Forum in which we brought together European and Ghanaian businesses. We took the Vice President of the European Commission here to Ghana, Commissioner Katainen. He's not well known to the large public, but he was, because now he's no longer there, but he was quite powerful person in Brussels, and he had meetings with the Vice President, with the European management team, and I think they really made some progress in EU and Ghana understanding each other, understanding what Ghana expects from the European Union and what the European Union would like to invest in Ghana. So it became very clear that the relationship between the EU and Ghana is not about, development aid. Yes, development aid is still there, it's an important part, but it's about building together a greener growth from Ghana, sustainable growth, circular economy, digitalization, European investment in Ghana, trade between EU and Ghana. So after that, there were 5 ministers from Ghana going to Brussels last year. Mm-hmm. We have built an important partnership also in security. The EU is supporting Ghana in reinforcing the security at the border and in the whole region. Within Ghana is a key country for the security in West Africa, and we are investing into this relationship. So indeed, it is very good. We had a lot of plans for this year. We have an Africa-Europe summit in October in Brussels, where we would have hoped to see President Akufo-Addo. We don't know what is going to happen, of course, in the coming months. But I have to say that because of the coronavirus and because of being more difficult to see each other, the relation has not suffered, actually. I am very closely in touch with the Minister of Finance because we are working for an emergency support to Ghana to tackle the coronavirus crisis.
How's that going?
Sorry?
How's that conversation going with the Ministry of Finance?
So going very well, actually, very, very well. In Brussels, they have made a massive effort to mobilize funds to help our partners to face this crisis, even if, of course, Europe has been struck very, very hard by the virus. And I think at the beginning we were all not knowing very well what to do, but we have reacted. The EU at the moment is leading actually the reaction to the virus at world level. Yesterday there was a pledging conference, a pledging event, in which in one day the EU collected $8 billion in pledges from all sorts of celebrities, world leaders, sports people, and business people. And that will be to help build diagnostics, treatments and vaccines for the virus at world level, and to increase access and to grant access to everybody to these treatments and vaccines. But that's at world level. What we've done with Ghana is that we have mobilized about 85 million euros to give directly to the government, and that's why I'm talking to the Minister of Finance to, as it's called budget support in technical terms, is basically a cash, available cash for them to use the way they want.
So there's not like a loan or anything?
No, it's a grant. Okay. It's a grant. In a way, if you want, it's complementary to what the IMF and the World Bank do, but they give grants, even if at very favorable conditions, and we give cash. But it's a bit the same thing. You just give them to the government and they can do what they want with it. It's not there yet, but it's been approved in Brussels, the operation. So now we are working with Brussels and with the Minister of Finance. We hope that in a few weeks' time they can actually have the cash.
There are those who will ask, yes, we live in a global world. We must help one another. There must be interdependence. But what is the EU's general interest in what we do here? Why don't you mind your own business, some would say? Because they believe you have your own agenda. Why should we trust you?
This is also a very good question. Thank you. I think you have to trust us because we indeed have an interest in Ghana and in Africa at large to be prosperous, to be stable, to be a secure place to live. Africa is our neighbor continent. We're, very close by. I'm Italian. It's a very short crossing between Italy and North Africa. If Africa doesn't prosper, Europe cannot prosper, the world cannot prosper. If Africa is unstable, the spillovers of the instability will be felt all over the world. So if you don't want to believe that the EU does it because we have ideals of, supporting peace and democracy all over the world because it's in our DNA, which is true and which is a fact. But if you don't want to believe that, then you have to believe that we do it in our own interest. If Africa is unstable, the world is unstable. So that's why we're here, and that's why we think that especially in this moment, it is in everybody's best interest to cooperate. Those who use this crisis to divide, I think that make a big mistake. This is the moment to work together. I read last week the very good piece of President Akufo-Addo together with the Norwegian Prime Minister on the graphic. They were talking about the Sustainable Development Goals that both of them patronize in New York. And they were saying, we're in this together. Only together we can get out of this. And after this is finished, we will still have to cooperate because the SDGs will still be there to guide our action, and probably it will be even harder to reach them because of the setback that we're getting from this crisis. So we strongly believe that only together we can get out of this, and the division is very bad for everyone.
But there are those who also question the terms of you trying to help us, as you put it, in terms of helping, trying to support for stability, trying to grow businesses, grow economies. Questions have been asked of the relationship not being that of partners, but that of a wealthier brother and the illegitimate son, basically, that nobody wants to talk to. How do you address those questions?
That's exactly what we're trying to change. What I was saying before, that in the past years there was this strong character of the EU being the donor, or the rich countries in general being the donors, and African countries being the receivers. And this is changing. There is a genuine change, and I would say not only in Brussels but everywhere in Europe, in transforming this relationship. We are not, as you said, a big brother and a smaller brother that has to be told what to do. We are partners, and we are doing things together. And that's why I talked before about this business forum. That's why last year it was not the European Commissioner for Development that came to Ghana, but it was the Vice President, which is in charge of growth and jobs. Because the idea is that we are growing our economies together. The economic growth in the coming years is going to be mainly in Africa. And probably the reasons. Africa has the most youthful population, it has the biggest gap to fill, it has the most dynamic economies. In the European Union, we are interested in this process happening. Yes, we also want a part in this. We have European companies that are coming here to invest, but this is a win-win. The European companies are making money and they're creating jobs, and they're creating sustainable jobs in Ghana. European companies don't come and take the resources and leave. European companies stay. We have companies that have been here for decades. They have personnel which is completely or almost completely Ghanaian. We have a stake in the growth of Ghana and in the growth of Africa. And that's the idea. And I'm sure that in the not so distant future, we will have a lot of African investments in Europe as well. We already have a diaspora in Europe that is contributing to our economies at the same time as it's contributing to the economies in Africa. So the ties will become more and more two ways. I don't know if I will still be in working for the European Union when this happens completely. Maybe I will be retired, I don't know. But it will happen because the gap, the same way as it has closed with, for example, Asia, I think the gap will close with Africa, and we are moving towards a much more balanced relationship.
Well, there are those who say 44 years of interaction between Europe and Africa, at least at this level, one should have seen at least a reflection of the European presence here with an African presence there in terms of the business community, as you talk about it, but we still haven't seen that. But I will push that conversation aside. Let's still focus on Ghana. I see you're invested in a lot of capacity building, especially trying to improve the business infrastructure and the environment. But your assessment, is that going well?
Yes, I think the capacity building is worth the investment. It is important to build in capacity. It is important to give trainings not only to business, not only to those working with business, but also to other kind of institutions. We would always like things to move faster. We would always like things to be better, but we have to acknowledge the progress that has been made. We have had a program that now is finished. It was called TRACK, and it was a program to support, to give exactly capacity building to, for example, certification bodies and to business. That program has worked. I cannot say that it has been easy to implement because I understand it wasn't, but it has worked. It is a program that has left a good sign. We are now working to give capacity to other kinds of institutions. We have a program which is called ARAP. It's a program to support governance in Ghana, particularly to fight against corruption. And we are building capacity, for example, in the judiciary. Unfortunately, the crisis came and we were not be able to inaugurate it, but we have helped the judiciary to build its e-library. And I realized how happy, how grateful they were of the work that we had done with them. We have also helped build the capacity of the prosecutor's office. We are doing a lot of.
Do you mean the special prosecutor?
No, the special prosecutor. We also support them, but it's different. No, okay. The prosecutors in the judicial system.
Okay.
The attorney general. So, and I visited one of their offices, and I saw all these young people, young attorneys that had benefited of the fact, for example, I have an easy access online to all the information. It's something that has a direct impact on the life of people. It's not necessarily something that goes and does the first page of the newspaper, but you can see that you can see the usefulness of it, because it's true that if you give capacity to these institutions, then of course the whole judiciary system will be more capable to fight against corruption. So it is really a pity that we couldn't have a public, let's say, event on this e-library, because it was really very, very good thing that had been done. I'm putting these examples to say that, again, maybe we would like to see faster progress, but capacity building is a very important part of our cooperation, and I think we will continue to do that as long as, of course, the Ghanaian government will be interested, as long as Ghanaian institutions will be happy to continue to cooperate with us. Then we will do something else.
We'll take a quick break. We're having a conversation with the head of delegation of the European Union to Ghana, Excellency Diana Acconcia. When we return, we'll have a conversation about trade. That is her proper forte, so we'll get into that. First, we'll be right back.
Travel the country in just 30 minutes on the U-Tour bus.
I'm just coming from the home or from the palace of the new Yana.
This is our story being told.
Journeys to explore.
From the plains to the greens to the scenery to everything.
There's so much we need to do, to boost tourism around this area. That guy was just getting up.
Learn and indulge in the culture and lifestyle of the people. shows on City TV every Saturday at 1 p.m.
For the highlights of the top stories from the newspapers and the in-depth discussions of the news, What the Papers Are Saying, your weekly newsstand show, which sums up the big stories from reliable newspapers and news websites.
It is the appropriateness of the act and the timeliness of the act which people find as not priority. That people think that there are more pressing issues that will need the attention of leadership. And because of that, renaming of institutions is the last thing people want to wake up to.
Join Vivian Kailoko and her panel to review the headlines, break down the stories, and analyze the issues. What the Papers Are Saying is this and every Thursday at 9 p.m. on City TV.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We're having a conversation with Madam Diana Acconcia, head of delegation of the European Union to Ghana. So let's talk a bit about trade. And that's where you've cut your teeth basically with the European Union. The terms of trade that currently exist between the EU and the continent in general, we are almost at the end of the current agreement that exists. What does the future hold? Let me put it that way. Let's start from there. What is the future, Africa and the EU?
Okay, thank you. Yes, as you say correctly, we are almost at the end of the what is called the Cotonou Agreement between the European Union and the Africa, Caribbean and Pacific country. However, we are just at the beginning of the trade agreement that Ghana has with the European Union, which is the Economic Partnership Agreement. It entered into force at the end of 2016, and after a few years of technical negotiations, now both parties are applying the agreement, and we really hope that this agreement can increase the trade between the European Union and Ghana. The European Union altogether is already the first trading partner of Ghana. It was in 2018, more or less, there were 6 billion euros of trade, both sides, more or less balanced. The European Union imports a lot of the Ghanaian cocoa, but also fruits and vegetables, also fish, and most importantly, it also imports some manufactured product, particularly some processed cocoa. And I think we are the only big trade partners that import some manufactured products from Ghana, because if you look at trade patterns with other partners, then you will see mostly oil and gold and unprocessed products. What we would like to do with this trade agreement is to increase Ghana's capacity to manufacture, to have more Ghanaian products manufactured and exported to the European Union. And the moment Ghana builds the manufacturing capacity to export to the EU, then obviously Ghana will be capable to export more to other partners. That's why we are looking with so much attention to the Africa Continental FTA, because Ghana is very well positioned to take advantage of it. Ghana has the manufacturing capacity, has a very good port, very modern port. It has air links, it has a central position, so we really would like to create a synergy between the agreement with the European Union and the agreement with the rest of Africa. One could imagine, for certain products, Ghana becoming a manufacturing hub that can export to Africa, can export to Europe, can export to other partners. Of course, Ghana cannot export everything and cannot be competitive in everything. I think at some point there should be a conversation also with the trade partners on who specializes on what and who has the potential of being competitive on what. Because no country...
Is that a realistic target, considering one would say countries have their own interests as compared to a group interest when it comes to some of these things?
I think it is. If you look at the European Union, of course there are large overlaps. A lot of European countries are producing the same things, but there is also specialization in the level, the type of industrialization that each country has pursued in the course of the years. The European Union has a huge amount of the trade which happens internally. Africa has a very low one, and that's, I mean, it's well known. Intra-African trade is very low. Why is this trade very low? There are several reasons, many of them historic. The historical trade links were with the former colonies. The trade was focused on the raw materials that the former colonies were requesting. And it takes time to change this pattern. To change this pattern, I think African countries will have to cooperate. And the role of the Africa Continental FTA Secretariat that will soon be established in Accra is crucial, because I think they will have somehow to guide this conversation. I was very happy to see that the Secretary General that has been chosen is an experienced South African negotiator. I don't know him personally, but there are my colleagues in Brussels who know him and have spoken very highly of him. I hope to build a very strong relationship with him. I hope he comes soon, you know, and to have this conversation together, because I really believe in it. And I would like to say another thing on trade. It's very important in this crisis not to close the doors to trade. Certain countries have had a protectionist reflex. Even in the European Union at the beginning, countries were starting to hoard protective equipment, medicaments.
Your country suffered.
And that's wrong. My country suffered, it's true, and that's wrong, and I realize that it's wrong. And a couple of weeks ago, the European trade chief, together with some other countries, they issued a declaration in Geneva, in the WTO, saying we don't have to stop the trade of food products. That's very important. We have to save food security. Food needs to continue to circulate freely in the world. And I am very happy to see that Ghana has closed the border to people's circulation, but has kept them order to trade flows and to supplies. The port is open because this is the only way not to experience any food shortage when there is a crisis like this.
Now, you initially on this topic, when you spoke about it, you mentioned cocoa, and it's a sensitive spot for a lot of Ghanaians, considering how important it is to the economy. And we know how Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, for instance, are trying to change the nature of the trade that exists currently between themselves and Europe, primarily, because that is where a lot of their cocoa goes. What have you made of that particular agenda to at least try and improve the terms of trade as they see it?
This issue has had a lot of attention. It was one of the priorities on my table just before the crisis started. The European Union supports the agreement between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire on a minimum price for cocoa. To fight against poverty is the only way to solve the other issues that are associated with cocoa, notably child labor and deforestation. If the farmers continue to be poor, there will be no way to solve the other problems. Now, the transaction between the seller and the buyer is a two-way transaction, and we know that cocoa is a commodity and that the price is formed in London or wherever.
Yes.
Now, we need to have the buy-in of the big buyers on this price agreement. We also need to have their cooperation for cocoa production to become completely sustainable from the environmental point of view and also from the social point of view. We had opened already years ago, but we had intensified it very much in the last, last year, I would say, in 2019, the conversation with these companies to ensure that they cooperate in having sustainable practices and in supporting the price of cocoa. I think that we were getting there. We also need the cooperation of the governments, of course. I was in touch with the Cocoa Board before the crisis. We have discussed how we can make sure that all the cocoa that is produced in Ghana is sustainable, and how the European Union can help. Unfortunately, this conversation has been interrupted. The European Union has put all this focus and energy in providing an emergency response to our partners for the COVID crisis, but it's a conversation that we will resume very soon, because cocoa is crucial for Ghana's economic growth and stability and environment, and it is too important, of course, to let it drop. So I'm sure that we will resume these discussions very soon.
The climate also seems to be a huge agenda for the EU, and even in your terms of conversation, you keep making reference to sustainable, development of farming. Are we making any progress this side? Again, you made reference to some of the SDGs as well. Do you see any progress being made?
Ghana is making progress on SDGs, and of course not all of them at the same pace. Last time I looked, actually on climate there was progress, but of course we need to do more, all of us. You might have seen that the signature policy of the European leaders that started at the end of last year, particularly of the European Commission President, Mrs. von der Leyen, is what we call the Green Deal. We want Europe to become the first carbon neutral continent by 2050. To do this, a massive effort is required, but the effort cannot only be only in Europe, the effort has to be global, because if Europe makes an effort and then continues to, for example, import products from other countries that are produced in a way that is creating carbon emissions, then the effort is vain. So we need to work together. The Paris Agreement remains, of course, our guiding light for our future progress. Europe wants to do more than the Paris Agreement, but we also want to work with our partners to help them achieve the targets of the Paris Agreement. This was another very intense conversation that we were having with the Minister for Environment, with the Ministry for Environment. We have a very, very good relationship with them. Ghana has a quite ambitious agenda to implement the Paris Agreement, and we are looking together with the government to see how we can support. In fact, green growth was going to be the priority for our future cooperation with Ghana. It will still be, I'm sure it will still be one of the priorities, but after this crisis we will have to look again. Maybe the government will want more support on health from us, so it's open. But a few days ago, the European Commission President has already said the recovery from the COVID crisis will be green or it will not be. Somehow we have to use this crisis to transform our way of working and to embark ourselves on a more sustainable growth path. It will not be easy for anyone because the priority will be to have the economy grow again, but we have to try at least.
Interesting. And in preparing for this interview, one of the questions that people brought to me to ask you, especially came from exporters, for instance, who you spoke about green revolutions, and they say sometimes they see an increasing strictness that sometimes does not favor them in sanitary and phytosanitary standards when they try to send their products to Europe, and ends up costing them a lot of money sometimes. What is the situation with that? How can that be addressed?
How many times have I got these questions in 25 years of career in trade? The answer is always the same. The European Union has very, very high food safety standards, but also high phytosanitary standards. We don't want to import nasty pests that then, will attack our crops. But also, we don't want to import pesticides, for example, that are not allowed in the European Union. So yes, the requirements are strict, it's true, the bar is high. The requirements are also transparent, are also always published in advance so that traders are informed. And traders in our partner countries can always receive technical assistance, as we were talking before, to help them comply with the requirements. We have a lot of cases in which, thanks to the technical assistance, they've been capable to get up to standards and to export. But I would really like to say the European market is open for vegetables, for example, from Ghana, from food products from Ghana. The European Union is the first importer of food products from developing countries. No other market is open like the market of the European Union. And this in spite of the fact that we are a huge producer of food ourselves. But we are also a huge exporter of food ourselves in the European Union. So we also encounter sanitary and phytosanitary barriers in third countries. You should hear our discussions with the Australians or with the Americans. So it cuts both ways. But there has to be an understanding that each country or trade bloc may have a different idea of what is food safety standards, and that somehow this has to be worked out. And this is, by the way, why there are multilateral bodies in which these discussions take place. If we could make our standards more similar to one another's, it would be easier to have food trade circulate around the world.
Interesting. And there was an interesting one that I read, and you can tell me whether this is a plus or a minus, says that African countries have excessive regulations that hinders them from taking advantage of trade. Now, you've worked years trying to figure this out. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
To have excess regulation?
Yes, to have excessive regulation.
Well, it's difficult to define excess regulation.
Exactly, which is what I'm
That's
asking.
the problem.
Is it good or bad?
What the African countries have is trade barriers between themselves. For example, barriers at the customs. Over the years, the European Union has invested huge amounts of money in trying to lower these barriers, what is called the so-called trade facilitation, so to have trade flow more smoothly between countries. But this is my personal opinion. We can invest a lot of money in this, but there has to be the political will of the countries. And this is not only for Africa, it's all over the world. There has to be the political will of having the trade flows. There has to be the political will from governments to create a regulatory environment whereby the customs are doing the checks, performing the checks that they have to perform, but they're not stopping the goods. It is possible, but it is not easy. In Europe, we have probably the lowest amount of customs checks in the world. I was shocked myself to learn how little we check. And it's a risk, in a way, so it's a risk-based check, so we only check when there is a risk. But the amount is incredibly low. And I was really shocked when I realized how little we check. But it's a risk that we have somehow accepted to take because we are such a huge trader. Now, the countries in Africa will want to have more checks probably because the level of trust is lower. But the question is how we increase the level of trust, how we have governments talk together, communicate together, and how we create this favorable environment whereby goods can flow, can be checked, smuggling can be stopped, but at the same time legitimate trade can prosper. This will have to be a big conversation within the Africa CFTA, because without this free circulation the Africa CFTA cannot work. And again, I hope that EU will be able to support this conversation, to be there with our experience. We are the most successful trade bloc in the world, so maybe we have one or two things that we can share on how to allow circulation of goods. And
before we take a break, we can also talk about movement of people, because migration is another element of this, and a lot of people also seem to feel that it's particularly hard to get into European Union countries. Somebody might say, I have met all the requirements, I am going on a trip or this or that, but no visa to an EU country. What is the take on that?
I don't feel comfortable commenting on visas because they are not my competence. The European Union doesn't issue visas, which is, I am in a very comfortable position in a way, because people don't come to me to ask for visa, and when they do, it's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this. Yes, the requirements are indeed strict, and I know I've heard this before, that is very difficult, it's very hard. Again, the bar is high, the regulations are transparent. On the other side of the coin, there is also the fact that a lot of the applications that come on the table of some of my colleagues, they are not what they should be. Let's put it like this. Okay. So I think this is a discussion where there are two sides, and where one can see from the one side, one sees all these applications coming which are not in order, and on the other side there is the person that just wants to travel and has everything, and it wonders why it is so difficult. I don't want to go beyond this, because this is really not my competence, and I know that it's very sensitive.
That's fair enough. Let's talk a bit more about the coronavirus. And Europe was buttered by this early on, but seems to have slowly found a way. Various European countries seem to have found a way to slowly come back to life. Your home country, Italy, included. Perhaps let's start from there. How is life getting back to normal for you? Somebody talks about the new normal. What will the new normal be like, at least from now, as we see it?
Well, I haven't been in Italy since last summer, so it's difficult for me to figure out what's happening. Of course, I'm talking to my parents, with my friends, but it's really difficult to imagine, the streets empty and what life has become now. We will all have to adapt to this new normal. In case of Italy, yesterday was the first day where people went back to work, and I think everybody is trying to find their way. And in this, it's not dissimilar, if you want, from what is happening in Ghana, where the lockdown was lifted, and I think now everybody is trying to understand what is the right thing to do. This morning, I was following the press conference of the Minister of Information. I was not listening, I was looking at the posts on the website. And it's clear, I think, from the kind of questions that came, that everybody is trying to adapt to all these new rules that have suddenly entered in their life. So the distance, the mask, it's still difficult to understand how this new world is going to be. I am trying not to be pessimist. I'm trying to be optimistic and to think that we can find something good in this crisis that has battered our economies and our lives so much. In Europe, at least, the recession will be brutal, particularly in certain countries, and the recovery will not be sudden. In Africa, we hope that the impact can be a little bit less brutal, but we are already seeing that it's hard. The silver lining on this might be indeed a reflection on our way of living and working. This remote working, smart working that we have seen appear everywhere maybe can be part of the solution to our climate problems. Maybe we don't have to be every day at the office. Maybe we don't have to be at all those conferences. Maybe we don't have to commute every day. That's why I liked very much when my big boss in Brussels said the recovery needs to be green, because maybe we can start from here to find a different model of development, but it will require a huge adaptation from everyone, nobody excluded.
All right, then. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about scuba diving. I really want to learn about that.
There are those with untold stories, unraveled feats, life-changing stories, and lasting legacies. They tell their stories themselves right here on Footprints.
So we go to someone who were put in our various cells, and then someone you have it's a huge prison, and then it was then that it dawned on me that I was really in big trouble.
Do you think that the overthrow of Liman was justified?
I think that with hindsight, there was no justification.
Be inspired by their hard work and resilience that led to those outstanding achievements as we trace their footsteps through the capsule of time.
Because of my upbringing, my mother, my father, they are, Christianity.
Yeah.
So because of that,
strong hands at home.
Even though I'm the guy smoking, doing all kinds of that, I've never tried.
You've never tried?
No, never tried weed or anything. Nothing.
You've never tried weed?
Even drinking, alcohol, no.
Why should you people put everything, Kwame. Everything was done before Nkrumah arrived in the country.
No, aho ni leba ye.
Aho neba ye.
So join me, Samuel Atamensa, and my guests every Saturday at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on City TV.
Footprint is sponsored by Bethel Logistics Company Limited, experts in shipping logistics.
Welcome back, and I hope you're enjoying the conversation with the EU ambassador to Ghana. She's the head of delegation, Madam Diana Acconcia. And what a lot of people don't know is you like scuba diving. Why scuba diving? Were you born on the coast?
I was born on the coast, yes, but I took up scuba diving very late in life, actually. I was well in my 30s.
What happened?
Because I was afraid before. It happened that I went to live in South America, and I was often going on holiday to Brazil, and there, it's so wonderful that you have to scuba dive. I was doing snorkeling before, so mask, just with the mask and snorkel, and I just loved looking there, and I said, okay, now I want to take it to the next level. I am not a very good scuba diver. I don't have the time to do it that much. So, and now you're making me think of it, and this year it was not going to happen. So,
I'm sure you found new pleasures though since you've been in Ghana. Culturally, what have been the interesting things that you have discovered?
Art.
Then maybe we can talk about food as well.
Art.
Oh.
Painting.
Really?
I love Ghanaian painters, yes.
So where have you been going to get your artwork? You've been going personally to get your own artwork?
I've started going to the Artist Alliance regularly, the gallery.
Yes.
And I bought a couple of small things. Then I convinced my office to buy a couple of other things. So I think it's great. There are wonderful artists in this country. We have, I cannot do publicity to anybody, so I cannot name names. But they are really great. If one day you come to my house, you will see a couple of pieces. I think that it's part of the energy, of the entrepreneurial spirit that we were talking. I think the art is the same. And last year, actually, we had a wonderful Europe Day, which, by the way, is going to be next Saturday. We had a wonderful Europe Day, which is the equivalent of the national days, if you want, of the countries. In my residence, we had an exhibition of artists working with recycled material. And it was wonderful. They filled my garden with art.
Is it still there?
No, so it was only for a day. We had a performance in the swimming pool. We filled the swimming pool with plastic to show how bad it was to fill the sea with plastic, and it was really great. So that's one thing that has given me pleasure in the 2 years that I've spent in Ghana.
And how have you coped with the food? We know Italians like their food and make excellent food. Have you picked up any new tastes whilst you've been here?
I actually like Ghanaian food. I like red. Oh. I like garifoto. I like palm oil soup.
Okay.
So yeah, with a good fufu in it. Occasionally.
You've been trying fufu?
Yeah, occasionally.
With the hand or with a spoon?
Well, I must say the hand, I haven't had the coverage yet.
So with a spoon?
So with a spoon.
You'll get there?
I'll get there, yes. Before leaving, I will eat fufu with my hands. And I've had a couple of events actually with some chefs that use Ghanaian ingredients to do modern cuisine, and it's really fantastic. It's really something I appreciate very much.
Now, travel is basically a staple in your job because you have to inspect projects and all that. But do you actually get time to enjoy sitting in a car, going through Ghana, visiting the various regions?
I have traveled a bit for personal, for holidays and for work. Yeah, I do enjoy it, but I haven't done it enough. I have not gone, for example, yet to visit some projects that we have in the north of Ghana. We have some big project to support agriculture in the northwest, in the Savannah region, and I had planned to go before again the crisis started. For travelers like me, this is going to be a big hit, I have to say. Of course, this is a luxury problem, if you want. There are people who are going to suffer much more than you and me for this crisis. But the travelers will have to change their lifestyle. So we will have to adapt. Yeah. But still, I think it is very important to go and see projects, to go and see the country where you are, because Ghana is not Accra, of course. So that will certainly resume after the crisis ends,
all right,
hopefully.
Okay, then. Thank you very much, Madam Diana Acconcia, for your time on Face to Face today. It's been a pleasure having you, and we hope that you will come back and we'll try and do the fufu together before you go. With the hands, of course.
Thank you very much. Then you're going to film me taking my fufu with my hands. Is going to be absolutely horrible.
No,
so.
we'll do some practice before we put the camera on.
Okay.
So no worries about that. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Madam Acconcia. She's the head of delegation of the European Union in Ghana. My name is Godfrey Akwetto Boafo. Have a good day.